at the Department of Physics, University of Ghana. Knowing Prof, one thing I can say about her is that she is empathy personified. I remember the many times in my early years here at University of Ghana, I fell sick many times. She showed a lot of empathy. In fact, visited me several times, even in my home, demonstrated care and support. And today I am well fit and working in my department and for University of Ghana and by extension Ghana because of this singular role that Prof herself played in my life. Today, as she does her inaugural lecture, I wish her the best and I also congratulate her. She deserves all the congratulations that I say to her because she is a true empathetic persona. Prof, congratulations.
My name is Prince Ofori, an Associate Professor of Economic Geology, Department of Earth Science. I'm deeply honored to stand here to talk about Professor Nanama Browne Klutse. Although we've not worked together, I find myself in the cognitive department of Professor Nanama Browne. Through a friend, I got to know her. We've spoken, we've said a lot of things. She's guided me through life. She's a senior sister, and we are all trying to copy and adapt her lifestyle and ensure that anything that we do, we put in more effort to ensure that we get to where we have to get to. She's our light, she's our shining light, and everything that we do, we try to look at her and follow her footsteps. Professor Nanama Browne, as you are going to have your inaugural lecture today, I'm saying a big congratulations. Today, I'm an associate professor because of your advice, and I'm following you keenly so that I'll be a full professor too. And I'm also looking at the exploit that you are doing out there so that I walk in your path. The shoes are big, but I think it's a good shoe for us to follow. Congratulations and have a good one. Cheers and God bless.
Hello, my name is Linda Echampong. I met Professor Nanama Browne Klutse in 2020 when she supervised me for my master's thesis. I wrote something on climate change and health, and she was a very wonderful supervisor. I've gone with her even in her philanthropic jobs, her activities around the communities, disseminating sanitary pads to young girls who are struggling in their menstrual season. I've worked with her in charity organizations, going to donate to orphanages. We've gone far and wide to help the needy. So Prof. Nanama has imparted a lot in my life, in my academic journey. She pushed me even to apply for a PhD at the Center of Climate Change, and now I'm in my second year. And I wish her all the best in her endeavors as she's moving on to a higher level. I know she will deliver, and we are proud of her. We are proud that we know her, and we are proud that she was in our life, and she's still in our life and influencing our lives.
I met Prof in 2017. I think that was my very first meeting. I was an intern at Ghana Atomic under her supervision. That was after my professor in school, Professor Fletcher, told me a whole lot about her. So I think the first time I met her at the car park. I wasn't sure she was the one. I didn't know she was the one. So went to office later, she joined us, we spoke. And that was the day I decided I was going to work with this woman forever. She was very simple, she was very polite, she was down to earth. And that was quite striking for me because I've met a lot of doctors that I didn't see those traits. So that had a deep impression on me. Fast forward, she was my co-supervisor for my undergrad thesis and then my supervisor for my MPhil. Basically, I always describe my relationship with Prof as a mother-son relationship because that's precisely what she has been for me to be. Prof is one person, when it comes to work, Prof is one person that you can always count on to get the work done. This one can literally have a breakthrough or a good news, celebrate for 5 minutes and then get back to work. That's Prof. I think it's one of the reasons Johan calls her a superwoman, and I think that's what she is. Prof is a great person, and I don't know, I can't be any more happier than I am now. Prof. Congratulations. This was well deserved, and the stars over it. Prof, your son. Bye.
Hello, my name is Johanny Kwe, and I am a proud product of Professor Browne Klutse's mentorship. I was her teaching assistant at the University of Ghana and later became her personal assistant. Professor really taught me the code of humility, like being very, very humble, and she was able to teach me how to be a strong woman in the field of science, because initially I didn't know if I qualified to be a researcher or a scientist, but then she showed me that girls can do it when you put your mind to it. And I'm finally finishing my master's and about to start my PhD this year. And Prof did not only show me how to be humble and how to be a good researcher, she also taught me that being a female, you should also give other opportunities to other female. So by mentoring other females. One thing about Prof that I really like is she's always saying never focus on the problem, focus on the solution, because the problem has happened. And that has been one of like my main drivers. Like when I'm faced with problems in the field of science or in my personal life, I always focus on what the solution is. And additionally, I have seen how hardworking Prof is. Prof is actually very hardworking. I've seen like she's staying up later than I am to work on her research, and she's very so admirable to this thing that like I have incorporated how she does most of her things into my life. So yes, Prof, congratulations on your inaugural lecture.
Hello everyone, my name is Sylvia Amkedu, a final year PhD student in physics. I'm fortunate to have Prof. Browne Klutse as my supervisor. My journey with Prof began in the year 2021 when I started my PhD. I remember Dr. Haggard introducing me to Prof. saying, "Nana, I have a student for you." During that time, Prof was overwhelmed with a number of students he was supervising, but he was gracious enough to supervise me, and I'm very grateful. Prof's supervision style is one I admire most. She has a very busy schedule, but she always finds time to supervise her students. On several occasions, she will tell me, "Sylvia, let's go, we shall continue the discussions in my car," making sure that I never lose out on the discussions we were having. Under her supervision, I've got the opportunity to present my PhD work internationally. First at ICTP in Italy, then University of Colorado in the US, and then in Kigali, Rwanda. On all these international travels, I always feel privileged when I mention her as my supervisor. Colleagues and professors will always say, "Sylvia, you are fortunate to have Prof as your supervisor." Others will say, "Can you help me meet her?" And this makes me feel proud that Prof is my supervisor. I sometimes refer to her as a superwoman because of her ability to put everything together so well. I've always told her that I wish she wouldn't be so soon. She will stay a bit longer so that we'll continue to benefit from her. But I wish you all the best, Prof. And I'll end by saying that thank you so much for the opportunity given to me and to others likewise. I conclude by saying that the hearts you have touched is proof that you live. That you made a difference, and the whole world and the University of Ghana has seen that really you were here. Thank you.
Mebusiafo mfantefo na me ekromusunya oye menje pi de wa ba ha ende me lecture mema oye university jumedi kra ye se edu baby a wo for professor oye de ekasafa ejuma aye throughout journey I be a full professor. I am done be there mo abaha. Medjuma bebre na for climate change ho na environment and some ho. Enti mo abe me did that mo so mo beti bi. Mo beti nyama me ye ne bi na adisua bebre wo na mo so eja mo that mo potodwo. Da mo ase da wa abaha eyimbre.
Climate change is not a distant threat. It is here with us. It has manifested in various forms such as sea level rise, coastal erosions, and the recently reported tidal waves in Agaveji and its environs. Yet, those who contribute the least to this crisis faces the heaviest burdens. Africa, responsible for less than 4% of global emissions, faces existential crisis. But within this imbalance rises a beacon of resilience, Professor Nanama Browne Klutse, a physicist, a climatologist, a policymaker, and staunch advocate for Africa's climate future.
Professor Nanama Browne Klutse, I started my basic education at Nyamfeku Ekrofo nursery, community nursery school, and I moved from there with my parents to Anomabo Methodist Primary and JHS. After that, I moved to Infantiman Girls Secondary School, then University of Cape Coast for my first degree in physics, and I started my master's also at the University of Cape Coast in physics. But I did only the coursework. Then I got a PhD admission to University of Cape Town, which was on sandwich basis, so I allowed my studies, part of my studies, to be done at the International Center for Theoretical Physics in Trieste. So we call it ICTP in Trieste in Italy. So I juggled between ICTP in Trieste and University of Cape Town for my PhD, but I received my certificates from University of Cape Town in South Africa. So I started as a young lady from a village, Nyamfeku Ekrofo. At a point, I had to stay at Anomabo from age 5 with my parents, and then the school we went with my siblings. We were 4 in all. We walked from the hospital area at Anomabo to the town and Methodist school, and then we closed every day and back.
Born in rural Ghana, Professor Klutse's journey began in Nyamfeku Ekrofo, where the sky was both a classroom and a mystery. Her path from Anomabo Methodist Primary all the way to University of Cape Town, all these experiences forged her into a scientist attuned to Africa's climate reality.
It's been a journey for me. Slowly from that village, I had to work hard to get to this level that I have attained. So I worked after my studies from University of Cape Town. I'd worked at the University of Cape Coast immediately after my studies. I came to University of Cape Coast. Then I moved to the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. At the time, we were just establishing the Ghana Space Science and Technology Institute. And so I say I'm a founding member of the Ghana Space Science and Technology Institute, and this was sanctioned by Professor F.K.A. Alote of blessed memory. So I worked there for 7 years, establishing the Remote Sensing and Climate Center. Eventually became the manager, the first manager of the center. After 7 years, I joined the University of Ghana as a senior lecturer, and I also worked at the University of Ghana for 7 years. I moved through from senior lecturer to associate professor in 3 years later, And then 2 years later, I became a full professor, and that was in 2023 at the University of Ghana. This year, 2025, I got appointment by the President of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to be the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority. So I assumed office in January and I have stayed at EPA from January, February, and we are in March. So I'm virtually in my third month of service at the environment.
Yeah. We are just about to start the program. Please let's take a couple of announcements as we wait for the members of convocation. Our washrooms are to my right and to my left. The ones to my right are for females, and the ones to my left are for males. I'm happy to inform you that we'll be live on all the University of Ghana social media platforms. Please let's prepare ourselves in readiness to receive the members of convocation. Please rise to receive the members of convocation. Thanks very much. Please resume your seats. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Madam Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, Registrar, Provosts, Deans, Directors, our distinguished Professor, members of convocation, Nananom, invited guests, staff and students, our friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. We are very happy to welcome you to the Great Hall of the University of Ghana. And we are happy also to call this gathering officially to outdoor and celebrate the first female professor of physics here at the University of Ghana. And former head of the Department of Physics, Professor Nanama Browne Klutse. Prof. Klutse delivers the second in the series of the inaugural lectures scheduled for the 2024-2025 academic year on the topic Physics, Policy and Politics of Climate Change, the Foundation of Human Survival. Let us pay special attention to her as she unpacks this topic. For now, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinguished honor to welcome our registrar, Mrs. Emilia J. Mensah, to deliver the welcome remarks and also to introduce our chairperson for this very important gathering. Please join me to welcome our registrar.
Thank you very much, Director of Public Affairs. Your Excellency, the Vice President, Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Academic and Student Affairs, and other officials of the University of Ghana, our distinguished lecturer, members of convocation, students and staff, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all, and welcome to the Great Hall. We also acknowledge all of those who are joining us online. We are delighted that you are able to join us for this evening's inaugural lecture to be delivered by Professor Nanama Browne Klutse of the Department of Physics, School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences in the University's College of Basic and Applied Sciences. Inaugural lectures are an important aspect of the university's programs, and every academic who rises to the rank of professor in their career in the university is expected to deliver an inaugural lecture. This offers the university the opportunity to recognize and showcase the academic achievements of its faculty and enables professors to share their research with colleagues within and outside the university, and to celebrate this important milestone with family and friends. I'm pleased this evening to introduce the chairperson for today's inaugural lecture. Our chairperson is the first female vice chancellor of the University of Ghana. She's a professor of linguistics, an experienced administrator, and has over 20 years experience working in the higher education sector. In the University of Ghana, she has previously served as the Pro-Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, the Foundation Dean of the School of Languages, and the head of the Department of Linguistics. As Vice Chancellor, she's leading the university to adopt technology in all of its operations while keeping the university's people as the focus. She has received numerous awards for her work in education, female empowerment, and leadership. She's a member of many prestigious societies and organizations and is a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. She is the founding president of the African Humanities Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome our chairperson for this evening's inaugural lecture, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Nanaba Apia Amfu.
Thank you, Madam Registrar. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Ministers of State and Members of Parliament, Pro-Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, Registrar, Provosts, deans, directors, heads of department, our distinguished lecturer, Professor Nanama Browne Klutse, faculty, staff, and members of convocation, past and present senior officers of the university, alumni and students, family, friends, and associates of the lecturer, partners from the environmental science sector, CEOs of state-owned organizations, esteemed traditional rulers, eminent clergy, friends from the media, invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a delight to chair this evening's lecture, which speaks to a very topical issue, climate change. Undeniably, climate change remains one of the most pressing challenges of our time, affecting every aspect of human life and the planet's ecosystems. Due to human actions such as generation of power, manufacturing of goods, and clearing of the vegetation for settlement, among others, our planet today is experiencing very dreadful climatic conditions. This is manifested through global warming, extremely hot temperatures with some countries experiencing heat waves, severe storms, we've had our fair share this week, erratic rainfall patterns resulting in droughts, rising and warm ocean levels affecting fish stock, loss of some land and ocean species, with all the associated health risks we can think about. The University of Ghana has been committed to advancing scientific research and spearheading positive change in climate action through its lead researchers in units such as the Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies, and across our various departments. Today, we are privileged to have one of such researchers, Professor Nanama Browne Klutse, deliver this lecture. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 13 explicitly addresses the issue of climate change with calls to take urgent measures to combat climate change and its devastating impact. Although understanding climate change requires a strong foundation in physics, scientific knowledge alone is insufficient to address climate crisis. Climate policies are essential for mitigating and adapting to the adverse effects of climate change. The politics of climate change also determines the level of commitment from governments, industries, and societies, influencing how climate policies are framed, funded, and enforced. In this inaugural lecture, Professor Nanama Browne Klutse projects an African voice on the subject and argues that the three pillars, physics, policy, and politics, must work in unison to achieve meaningful climate change adaptation and mitigation. Translating climate science into action requires well-informed policies and political commitment at both national and international levels. In the lecture, the complexity of the climate system will be explained with an emphasis on global warming, human activities driving it, and its impact on climate change. The lecture will confirm the importance of aligning science-based recommendation with political action, highlighting that global climate policies must be strictly adhered to in order to prevent irreversible tipping points. The lecture will conclude with the proposed solutions for climate action and the need for interdisciplinary collaboration in driving progress for addressing the climate change crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important to note that addressing climate change is not merely about reducing emissions or adapting to its impact. It is about safeguarding the very foundation of human existence. Now, allow me to briefly introduce our lecturer. Professor Nanama Browne Klutse is a distinguished physicist and climate scientist currently serving as the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority of Ghana. Before this role, She was the head of the Department of Physics at the University of Ghana. Indeed, she's on loan from us to the EPA. She was head from August 2023 to January 2025, making her the first female to head the department. She also holds an international leadership position as Vice Chair of Working Group 1 of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. Previously, Professor Klutse was a senior research scientist at the Ghana Space Science and Technology Institute of the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, where she managed the Remote Sensing and Climate Center. As a strong advocate for integrating indigenous knowledge with scientific research, Professor Klutse works to develop locally relevant climate adaptation and mitigation solutions. She is also a passionate champion for women in STEM, actively encouraging young Ghanaian girls to pursue careers in science while striving to make science education more attractive. Professor Klutse joined the University of Ghana as a senior lecturer in August 2018 and was promoted to associate professor in 2021. In 2023, she achieved a historic milestone by becoming the first female professor of physics in Ghana. And the first female physics professor, of course, if she's the first female professor of physics in Ghana, it stands to reason that she's the first at the University of Ghana. Professors of physics come sparingly, more so when they're of the female species. Professor Nanama Browne Klutse attended Infantsman Girls Secondary School. She continued her education at the University of Cape Coast, where she pursued a degree in physics. I was waiting for that applause from the Vice President. Her PhD is from the University of Cape Town, and she's also had further studies at the International Center for Theoretical Physics in Italy. Professor Browne Klutse specializes in atmospheric physics with a focus on understanding atmospheric dynamics and their impacts on human life, ecosystems, and the environment. Her research explores how climate change influences critical sectors such as agriculture, water resources, and public health in Africa. She is particularly interested in climate variability, climate change modeling, and solar radiation management. Professor Browne Klutse is a dedicated educator and researcher, teaching a range of physics and climate science courses. In addition to the work that she's done at the University of Ghana, she's affiliated here at the University of Ghana. She's affiliated with both the Department of Physics and the Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies. Before joining the University of Ghana, she taught at the University of Cape Coast, and she serves as a guest lecturer at the West African Science Service Center on Climate Change and Adapted Land Use. She's also served as a researcher at the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, AIMS. Professor Browne Klutse, as I indicated, is the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority. She has played a key role in shaping Ghana's climate policies, contributing to the country's second, third, and fourth national communications to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. She was also instrumental in developing the National Framework for Climate Services for Ghana. From 2012 to 2013, she collaborated with a team under the African Adoption Program of the UNDP to develop early warning systems for floods and droughts in northern Ghana, enhancing the country's resilience to climate-related disaster. Since 2024, Professor Browne Klutse has been a member of the Oversight Committee for exploring options for actively cooling the Earth program under the UK's Advanced Research and Innovation Agency. She has been actively involved in the Coordinated Regional Climate Downscaling Experiment since 2011 and has served as the point of contact for Africa since 2021. Professor Browne Klutse plays a key role as a lead author in the IPCC 6th Assessment Report from 2017 to 2024. She has represented the government of Ghana at multiple IPCC sessions. She was a member of the expert team for the IPCC scoping of the special report on the impacts of global warming, and she participated in the 6th assessment report in 2017. Beyond the IPCC, Professor Klutse has contributed to Africa Union initiatives, including serving on the African Space Policy and Strategy Working Groups. She was a member of the Research Advisory Panel of the South African Weather Service and served as a board member of UNESCO's International Basic Science Program. Professor Nanama Browne Klutse has played a vital role in science education and community development. She coordinated the International Physics Olympiad Ghana team, encouraging young talent in physics. She worked under the Peer Science Project, educating maize farmers in Ghana's transition zone on optimal planting and harvesting times based on rainfall onset and cessation partners. As a mentor and patron, she supports various students' organizations. Additionally, she is actively involved with Center for Climate and Sustainability Empowerment, Agdabus Consults, the Molex Foundation, Pro-Environment Africa, and the Browne Foundation, which she established in honor of her father to support education and community development. Professor Browne Klutse has received numerous accolades for her contribution to science and climate action, including recognition for a woman in science for her contribution to science, Schlumberger Faculty for the Future Award, DAAD In-Country In-Region Award, and UNESCO Award on Basic Physics for Young Scientists. Professor Browne Klutse is a third child of Mr. Joseph Ramold Browne and Mrs. Sarah Browne of Nyamfeku Ekwafo. She has 3 sisters, and she's married to Dr. Charles Kofi Klutse. Together, they have 3 children, Nana Amonu, Elise Ardaim, and Kafe Afome Klutse. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our definition of brief. You can read the fuller version of her profile in the brochure, and it's also available online. I look forward to a stimulating lecture as Professor Nanama Browne Klutse sheds more light on the topic physics, policy, and politics of climate change, the foundation of human survival. Professor Klutse, you are invited to give your inaugural lecture. Thank you.
Ghana mampenya bedi echire. Nana Jemai Memawo Akwaba. Siapoin down for Nanaba appear anfo Memawo Akwaba. Ekuno Niantina Moshim Memamunina Tnasio Esansuma Moakwaba. Mumamini kai fasida manya nkopon. Sanya na domne ni mobro hoa. Kayanti ase. Tachemada bojue mwa. Nidimu na yeyenka. Yenyina yenim. Adikudi entia yeshiemui. Omaye yo. Omaye kosu entia. Semijina ha. Obeni onyamfo bintina mewa hanei. Senese ka climate change. Edi akotene wo ye maimu. Eye ewie mu nsakraye. Ede tutu na anu nsu etoye a. Enu ebubuye. Akwanya a eseye. Ya menkwa nka fa ye mu bikoye. Tisene se ya be hyiemu a. Ye be ka ho asem. Ede aba oman ne kan kro. Na koba ne saa. Eya na ye hia obi a wadi mu akotene. Na owo mu nimde. Na nipa nim no. Na wowo mu sue hu no. Na ye hwehwe mu a. Mume nka ye nya oba ne onyamfo. Nanama Browne Klutse. Oba pa. Oba besi awodi agromo. Me di seprewa efrefrewo. Said Yankuton friends no patutu. Oba ni onyamfo e. Eda wasene wada ajie. Eda wasene wonim die. Kosi enim se ye be free ha ye be kwei. Ye nya nim die foforo. Ama na bo awo man Ghana. Ewie mu sakraye. Ama na bo man Ghana. Ye mputu o. Oba pa ye ma omoni o. Money yo. Ya ma money ejuma pa. Money yo. Ya ma money wada ajie. Oba pa doni breadroom. Oba pa kasa. Kaso. Oba pa doni breadroom. Kaso, kasa. Na uma fortune, kasa. Kaso.
Thank you for the funds. Thank you, Professor Chair, for the great introduction. Her Excellency, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyemang, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. Vice Chancellor, Professor Nana Aba Ampia Amfo. Pro Vice Chancellor, academic, Professor Gordon Awandare, Pro Vice Chancellor Orit, Professor Felix Asante, Registrar of the University, Mrs. Emilia Ajay Mensah, Provost of the College of Basic and Applied Sciences, Professor, he has been very supportive to me. I want to look at his face and mention his name. We're very grateful to you. Provost of other colleges, Dean of School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences, Deans of other schools of the University of Ghana, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament. I see Honorable Kofi Ato here, Head of Physics Department, Dr. Felix Ellison Hughes, other heads of department, College of Professors. I see the former Pro Vice Chancellor of University of Cape Coast, Professor Dora Francisca Edubuando, the clergy, Nananum and elders of Abra Asebu Kwamankese, and I single out Emintim Minam Okechi, the 6th of Abra States, Nananum of Central Region. I see the Paramount Chief of Kushia is also here. Colleagues from the Department of Physics, colleagues from other universities and University of Ghana, staff of the Environmental Protection Authority. I see MDs and CEOs of different institutions here as well. Members of the IPCC Bureau and other online participants, distinguished invited guests, family, friends, students, members of the NDC fraternity gathered here, friends of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is an honor to have the opportunity to deliver my inaugural lecture on the topic, Physics, Policy, Politics of Climate Change, the foundation of human survival. I extend my sincere gratitude to the university management for providing me with this platform. For every academic reaching this pinnacle is a significant milestone in their career journey. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be interested in understanding why it will rain in Medina but not at the University of Ghana campus, even though these locations are just a few kilometers apart. The answer lies in the complex nature of our climate system, which is influenced by both global and local factors. My research focuses on atmospheric physics, as the chair introduced. It spans from the upper atmosphere to the lower atmosphere. The Earth's atmosphere is a layer of gases surrounding our planet Earth and held around the Earth by gravity. I hope we all know the Earth's gravity. It is that force that will bring you down when you jump, or when you throw any object up, it will bring it down. The atmosphere is crucial for life by providing breathable air, shielding us from harmful solar radiation and regulating temperature of the Earth. The impact of upper atmospheric processes on the lower atmosphere is significant and continues to be an area of active research. I co-authored a paper that explains how the upper atmospheric disturbances affect an important tropical phenomena, the intertropical convergence zone. This controls our rainfall pattern, wind pattern, and other climate variables in Africa. The paper was led by Dr. Patrick Essien, who is here present. My research focuses on the lower atmosphere, where weather and climate processes directly impact life on Earth. This layer plays a key role in climate dynamics, modeling, and impact assessment. Since this layer is a layer where all life exists, including humans, it is crucial to explore how the atmosphere changes influence our environment and well-being. Madam Chair, at first glance, my audience may find the topic a straightforward one. However, as we progress through this lecture, we will explore its deeper meaning and complexities. By the end, we will all gain a comprehensive understanding of the subject and why I chose to focus on it for my inaugural lecture. Professor Chair, permit me to elaborate on the title of my lecture, and in a literal sense, I embody the very essence of this topic. From my education to my professional practice, I am both a physicist and a politician, bridging the gap between science and policy. I will reiterate some of the points the chair introduced for emphasis. Climate change remains one of the most pressing challenges of our time, affecting every aspect of human life and the planet's ecosystem. Understanding climate change requires a strong foundation in physics, as it governs key processes such as atmospheric dynamics, energy transfer, and radiative forcing. These fundamental physical principles underpin climate model and project future climate scenarios and assess the impact of greenhouse gas emissions. As the chairman said, scientific knowledge alone is insufficient to address climate crisis. It's important to translate the climate science into action that requires well-informed policies and political commitment at both the national and international levels. The politics of climate change does play a crucial role in determining the ambition and implementation of climate policies worldwide. Madam Chair, my lecture examines how scientific knowledge informs policy decisions, the obstacles in translating climate science into effective policies, and the political landscape influencing climate action. The interconnectedness of these three dimensions emphasize the urgent need for political will to tackle the climate crisis. Addressing climate change is not merely about reducing emissions or adapting to its impact. As the chairman said, it is again about safeguarding the very foundation of human existence. Only through the integration of science, informed policy making, and strong political will can we secure a sustainable future for generations to come. Madam Chair, it is an honor of representing Africa in the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, as the Vice Chair of Working Group 1. The IPCC, a United Nations body responsible for assessing the science related to climate change. Notably, I am the first Ghanaian to attain this position within the IPCC. Thank you. Through both my national and international engagements, I can say with high confidence that the climate system is complex, not only as a scientific challenge, but also as a political challenge. Politics plays a critical role in shaping how climate policies are developed and implemented. Although climate change is widely recognized as a global emergency, causing irreversible losses and damages to our planet, even securing adequate political agreement remains a struggle. A striking example is the United States withdrawal from the International Climate Action and Development Assistance, highlighting the potential tensions that hinder progress. Imagine projects ceased because funding such as USAID have been withdrawn and many related funding threatening to cut down. This political decision is affecting many developmental activities. For example, the halted mangrove restoration in Keta is increasing coastal erosion risks. There is enough evidence that governments should invest in research and implementation of same. One thing is certain, the impact of climate change is real, overwhelmingly negative, and becoming more devastating over time. We have all contributed to global warming, and we must all be part of the solution. If you are benefiting from burning of fossil fuels, simply, if you are driving or being driven, you have contributed to global warming. If you are involved in land clearing or benefiting from land use change, including the house you live in and the food you eat, you are responsible. How much we contribute to climate change depends on our country of residence, lifestyle, and consumption patterns. The rich, the most responsible. The poor is the greatest victim of climate change, while contributing the least to the problem. This is an ethical dilemma. The world is warming fast, and we may hit 1.5 degrees Celsius limits that is set by the Paris Agreement in just 2 years. This will lead to increased food shortage, dry spell, heat waves, water shortages, as well as forced migration on a large scale. Mathematically, achieving the Paris Agreement goal is still possible, but only if we tackle or we take critical and urgent actions. The ongoing rise in global warming is not surprising. It is a direct consequence of over-dependence of fossil fuel and the combustion of same, a process governed by basic chemistry. For every gram of petrol or diesel we burn, approximately 3 grams of carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. This follows a straightforward equation which you can see on the screen. Check your car exhaust and observe some droplet of water. This water is what you see in the equation, H2O. Is the symbol, chemical symbol for water. So you cannot see the carbon dioxide. In the equation is CO2. You cannot see the carbon dioxide coming from your car exhaust, but if your car is burning fuel efficiently, you will see the water. Otherwise, if your car is not burning fuel efficiently, it means it's even more dangerous, it's causing more pollution, because what we get eventually is carbon monoxide, which is even more dangerous. As hydrocarbons combine with oxygen, carbon dioxide is inevitably produced and are released into the atmosphere. This is one of the reasons we are getting the global warming. Professor Chair, let me take this opportunity to explain the difference between global warming and climate change. I have used these interchangeably, and I wish to bring some clarity to them. When we say global warming, we're talking about climate change in relation to temperature alone. Climate change in general relates to all variables in the atmosphere, including temperature. And I hope I've not confused my audience. So if the pattern of climate change, if the pattern of rainfall has changed today compared to some 20, 30 years ago, we can say climate change in relation to rainfall. As part of my research on the impact of global warming, I led a study that resulted in a paper that assessed how 1.5 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius global warming will influence consecutive dry days and consecutive wet days. These are key indicators of droughts and floods. Climate change is reshaping rainfall patterns, impacting agriculture, water resources, and ecosystems in West Africa. Declining consecutive wet days could affect hydropower generation, drinking water supply, and irrigation. Shorter wet periods may lead to lower crop yields and increased food security. Madam Chair, in a related study, I contributed to Future Climate Model predicts a 10 to 40% decline in water availability across 5 major West African river basins, increasing the risk of water shortages. 2 examples are River Niger and our own Volta. Madam Chair, every Ghanaian should be concerned about the state of our water bodies. Already threatened by climate change, they are now facing further pollution from illegal mining activities and indiscriminate waste dumping. These activities are worsening our already critical situation, making the water issue even harder to protect the water resources. Ladies and gentlemen, we may be living far away from the Arctic and Antarctic regions and may not want to care about the climate situation that side. However, climate is global. Climate is global and one process affects the other. Melting glaciers and thermal expansion of ocean contribute to rising sea levels. Thank you, Professor Vice President, for honoring this lecture. Melting glaciers and thermal expansion of oceans contribute to rising sea levels. Low-lying cities and island nations are facing flooding and losing their coastline to the sea. If we lose the Arctic, we lose the world. The melting of the Arctic ice due to global warming has 3 major consequences. Release of greenhouse gases stored in the ice, further amplifying global warming. As ice melts, darker surfaces are exposed, absorbing more heat and accelerating local warming. Increased sea levels as melted ice add more water to the ocean, leading to coastal erosion. It is projected that coastal erosion will displace at least 2 million people by 2030, severely impacting their livelihood. In Ghana, the impact of climate change is evident in rising sea level and coastal erosion. We have seen a number of news items on Agaveji, Salakope, and Amutianu area in the Ketu South district that need immediate intervention on coastal erosion. My few days as the Chief Executive Officer at the Environmental Protection Authority and observing the coastal erosion across Ghana, I now understand the poem, "The Sea Eats the Land at Home." This is a poem by Kofi Awino in 1964. On this, who pays for loss and damage, has been a discussion at the Conference of Parties, we normally call it COP, at the United Nations Convention on Climate Change for some years now. This is highly political. I contributed to a research paper led by Dr. Richard Adade, who was my student from Wascal, that explored solutions for vulnerable coastal communities facing displacement due to climate change. Another significant impact of melting ice lies in the unknowns. Factors that remain uncertain could have profound consequences. If permitted, Professor Chair, I would like to repeat what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama explained during his inaugural speech on 7th January 2025. With the increase of the climate crisis, and as the waters grow warmer, melting icebergs and permafrost, there is a greater likelihood for viruses that have been frozen and thought to be extinct for decades, perhaps even centuries, to spread and create global pandemic. This highlights the potential risk of ancient pathogens resurfacing due to thawing permafrost, a scenario that could trigger new global health crisis. Today, more than ever, climate change has proven to be a significant threat. One of its most pressing challenges is its impact on agriculture. Information for decision-making and planning is inevitable in building resilience, particularly for smallholder farmers who are most vulnerable to climate variability. In a research study published, we analyzed projected temperature increases and their likely implications for smallholder farming systems across the northern regions of Ghana. The study, based on data from 1961 to 2000, found that the mean annual temperatures across Ghana rose by 1 degree Celsius, with the highest rate of warming observed in the northeastern part of the country. This research, published as Klutse et al. 2021, provides critical insight into how climate change will affect crop yields, water availability, and food security in the northern regions of Ghana. Climate change situation needs urgent attention. It requires a top global priority, yet our response lacks the urgency. Perhaps because climate change progresses more gradually. If we respond to the climate change as we did during the COVID-19 pandemic, we would have made some significant progress. A befitting analogy is the boiling frog fable I normally use. If you drop a live frog in a boiling water, it will jump out immediately. But if you place it in a lukewarm water and gradually increase the heat, the frog stays in live, adapting to each change until it boils to death. This is how we have approached the issue of climate change, slowly adapting rather than taking swift, decisive actions. We have all contributed to climate change, as I said earlier on, whether in big or small ways. In Africa, we argue that we have contributed less to global warming. While this is true, small contribution can be significant because in the climate system, there is no strict distinction between small and big impact. This aligns with Lorentz theory, this is physics, the foundation of chaos theory, which shows that small changes in initial conditions can lead to massive long-term effects in dynamical systems. It informs us to be mindful even with our small contributions. Every fraction of a degree matters for achieving the Paris Agreement goal. Think of a cup of water filled to the brim. Adding a few more drops may still keep the cup full. However, there may be one more drop that will cause the cup of water to overflow. And when it does, many more drops spills over uncontrollably. What if we are closer to the tipping point than we realize? Anywhere, if you look on the screen, anywhere before the pivot, the ball, or in this case, the earth, can return to its original position. So the inclined plane is showing the warming, the global warming situation now. So any point along the inclined plane, the earth could restore back to its original position until it goes beyond the pivot. That is when the earth will run into an uncontrollable state, by which time the current understanding of our climate system will not permit us to predict the climate. We can no longer tell how the future will look like. We may not know how rainfall would be, how temperature will be, how wind system will be, how storms will be. Professor Chair, if I had only one option to choose a field of study, I would choose climate physics again. The reason being that in this field, you gain a deep appreciation of the complex processes that govern our atmosphere, our very home. More importantly, you realize that climate is not an isolated discipline. Rather, it underpins and connects to every field of study. So we can relate climate change connecting to the Sustainable Development Goal. In physics, from solid state physics and material science to high energy physics, energy studies, and environmental physics, climate plays a fundamental role. But it extends far beyond the physical sciences. In social science, climate change influences sociology, psychology, and economics. It raises critical questions of justice and law. Question: who bears the cost of climate-related losses and damages? As I've asked earlier on, who is responsible for adaptation and mitigation? In a broader sense, climate is linked to everything from archaeology to zoology. In climate physics, we engage with data management, signal processing, mathematics, computer programming, human psychology, and even mental health. The interdisciplinary nature of climate science makes it one of the most critical fields of our time, demanding urgent attention and collective action. Meanwhile, Professor Chair, Africa lacks adequate expertise in climate science. In the latest IPCC assessment report, only 11% of the lead authors were from Africa. A stark reminder of the gap in representation and in expertise. To help bridge this gap, my research efforts since obtaining a PhD have resulted in over 69 publications, supervision and mentorship of more than 60 students in climate-related fields. Thank you. Beyond direct supervision, I have actively contributed to numerous capacity building initiatives aimed at strengthening climate science expertise across the continent. It is my hope that the many students who have benefited from my guidance will in turn give back to society through research, training, contributions to both national and international discussions on climate change. Madam Chair, my swift career progression has been driven by hard work and teamwork. I established a research group comprising my students and colleagues, which at its peak grew to 35 members. Together, we secured grants, conducted research, and published scientific findings, an approach that has not only advanced my career, but also propelled the careers of many students and collaborators. I am pleased to share that Rebecca Belkon Oforiwa, a PhD student of Physics Department, successfully graduated last month during the University of Ghana's congregation. I had the privilege of supervising her alongside Dr. Hubert Azoda Kofi of the Department of Physics and Dr. Francis Nkrumah of the University of Cape Coast. He was my former student as well and now a colleague. Rebecca's research focused on teleconnections of climate variability, making significant contribution to our understanding of how distant oceanic conditions influence the climate of West Africa. I have singled this student out of many students because she worked in less than 4 years on her PhD at the Department of Physics. Thank you. The bigger one is coming. She also happens to be my first PhD student to female, the first female PhD student to graduate at the University of Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, in climate modeling, we improve our understanding of the climate system and make projections of the future climate based on probable storylines we call scenarios. Socioeconomic pathways refer to different possible futures that describe how global and regional society, economics, and policies might evolve in the coming decades. My contribution in this space are a number of articles published. One of the papers examined projected changes in temperature and precipitation over the African continent during the 21st century. These papers emphasize that climate action is deeply linked to global and regional development choices. One of the important use of such scenarios is predicting the suitability of crop yield in different parts of Ghana. A consultancy work I did for the Food and Agriculture Organization for Ghana presented future yield and suitability of rice, maize, millet, and sorghum in the northern half of Ghana. It is revealing to know how these crops will perform in future. Such findings inform government and farmers, particularly on where and when to plant crops and the amount or investment that these crops will need. In my career, I have met people and funders who are only interested in the impact of climate change and not the basic science of climate change. But I think we will appreciate it more if we understand why and how the processes in the climate system occur. I had to stay smart in not losing my fundamental field of training in the physics of climate, but also saw the importance of making an impact. My journey has been climate dynamics through modeling the climate and the impact of climate. A significant part of my progress is due to the collaborations I have with many institutions in Ghana and at the international level. I'll mention a few. The support I receive from the International Center for Theoretical Physics, we say ICTP, in Trieste, Italy, provides me with invaluable resources, mentorship, and research collaborations that enhance my work in physics. Through their programs, I have gained access to cutting-edge scientific knowledge, advanced computational tools, and a network of leading researchers. This support has not only strengthened my expertise, but has also enabled me to contribute meaningfully to global scientific discussions and capacity building efforts in Africa. The University of Cape Town, where I obtained my PhD, continues to provide support for my research through my supervisor, Professor Babatunde Joseph Abiodun. I served as a researcher with the financial support from Government of Canada through the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, AIMS, in Kigali and in Ghana. These support systems extend also to my students and members of my research group. Professor Chair, I believe everyone must get into some kind of politics to understand human behavior. Politics, whether partisan politics, university politics, or climate politics, is about human management. The IPCC SIT assessment report, which I contributed to as a lead author, is bold to report that climate change is red-coded for humans. The decisions of the IPCC, though scientifically important, it is largely political. Approval of programs and reports are done by government. The IPCC strives to pursue scientific integrity and continuity as the most authoritative and policy-relevant voice on climate science globally. Madam Chair, the IPCC was created to provide policymakers with regular scientific assessments on climate change, its implications, and potential future risk, as well as to put forward adaptation and mitigation options. The IPCC report informs major global policies and are ratified in various countries. For example, the IPCC's first assessment report, we say FAR, established the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC, which is the United Nations entity tasked to supporting the global response to the threats of climate change. The second assessment report of the IPCC informed the Kyoto Protocol, committing industrialized countries and economies in transition to limit and reduce greenhouse gases emissions in accordance with agreed individual targets. The third assessment report, we say TAR, informed the Adaptation Fund. The fourth assessment, informing the 2 degrees target, is the international climate policy goal of limiting global warming to less than 2 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. And the fifth assessment report informed the popular Paris Agreement. The most recent report, which is the SIT assessment report of the IPCC, is informing the Global Stocktake 1 and the phasing out of fossil fuel discussions. The policies of climate change shape a lot of decisions and actions in our countries. For example, enacting the Paris Agreement, Ghana presented its nationally determined contributions, NDC. This means nationally determined contribution to the UNFCCC and finalizing the updated version. In this document, Ghana, like other countries, comprehensively presents the plan for climate action for both adaptation and mitigation in line with the priorities of the government. I'm happy to have contributed to these documentations. Madam Chair, implementing the climate policies is highly political. Governments have to put a balance between these global calls and national needs. To have one of the reasons I decided to join politics, Madam Chair, is for the implementation of scientific research findings. The other reason is getting opportunities for my people who are deprived and underdeveloped. With this, I contested the NDC primaries. The NDC here means the National Democratic Congress primaries, in an attempt to become a member of parliament. I never gave up. I continued to work for the party to see it win the general elections. Thanks to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and Her Excellency Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman for my appointment as the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority. Thank you. This opportunity has created an opportunity for me to implement, especially what I contributed to in the manifesto leading to the 2024 election. Madam Chair, thank you. The findings represent the policies we implement, and the politics involved in their implementation can make or mar our development, livelihoods, and even the very existence of our lives. Findings from scientific research affect policies and political decisions. These can derail our gains or progress of our development. From a scientific perspective, we understand clearly what needs to be done to reduce global warming and the associated climate change impact. However, political and socio-economic factors may make implementation challenging. Various science and technology solutions have been proposed, including carbon dioxide removal and solar radiation modification. Carbon dioxide removal aims to lower atmospheric carbon dioxide levels through methods such as afforestation, direct air capture, and ocean fertilization. Solar radiation modification, on the other hand, seeks to reflect a portion of solar radiation back into space, potentially cooling the planet through technologies like stratospheric aerosol injection and cloud marine brightening. While these strategies offer promising solutions, they also come with uncertainties. Effective climate mitigation will likely require a combination of emission reductions like the CDR and carefully considered the solar radiation modification approaches. These technologies may be expensive, but they are far less costly than the consequences of inaction of climate change. A paper I co-authored and led again here by Dr. Francis Nkrumah seeks to mimic the cooling effect we experience during the Harmattan season as a solution to the global warming. This is a technology under the solar radiation modification. I sincerely acknowledge my colleague, who I profoundly call my friend on campus, for guiding me through my application to the University of Ghana, supporting my progress within the institution. As we all know, every institution has its unwritten rules, and his guidance proved invaluable. I have chosen not to mention his name here, but I remain deeply grateful. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to my mentors, well-wishers, and fans. Their expectations of me pushed me to forge ahead without fear. There are many shoulders I have stood on to progress this far. I'll mention just a few because of time. So I take this opportunity to acknowledge Professor F.K. Alote of blessed memory, the unsung colossus. I often ask myself, what would Professor Alote say to me if he was alive today? Professor John Justice Fletcher served as my supervisor during both my undergraduate and master's studies. He provided invaluable guidance and ensured my well-being. And I hope he's watching us online from home. Professor Francis Benya of the University of Cape Town taught me several mathematics courses, shaping my foundational knowledge. He guided me through my stay in South Africa as well. Professor Boabaswa, I still remember the electromagnetic field theory. Thank you. I am grateful to Professor S.Y. Mensah and the late Dr. Alfred Owusu. May his soul rest in peace. To my parents, Mr. Joseph Raymond Browne and Mrs. Sarah Browne, words cannot fully express my gratitude. All I can say is that I'm deeply thankful. I hold firmly to the Fanti proverb, "Wa shwa mami se fifra, mo so ma shwa wan ma won sin etutu." Literally, they have cared for me through the growth of my teeth. I will also care for them when they lose all their teeth. When I first told my father that I want to study physics, his excitement was palpable. With a proud smile, he said, "You will not only belong to Ghana if you learn physics." At the time, I did not fully grasp the weight of his words, but today I see how prophetic they were. Physics has indeed taken me beyond borders. It has allowed me to contribute to knowledge and the impact, not just in Ghana, but the world. Daddy, thank you. My children first understood the meaning of deadline at home because I use the word so often. They would ask, "Mama, do you have another deadline?" Their question reminded me of the many critical deadlines I had to meet. One day, my husband asked, "Why you always seem to deliver tasks right at deadlines?" My response was simple. Every day is a deadline for me. When I began my engagement with the IPCC and started traveling frequently, my children convinced themselves that I was solving the global warming problem. Today, with my new role, they believe I am working to solve the many environmental challenges in Ghana. They even engage me in discussions about solutions. And I remember our last conversation on this was on plastic waste. Thank you, Cafe, Adime, and Nana. Madam Chair, I recall a conversation we had during one of our social interactions when I asked how you managed your family and career. The wisdom you shared with me, Madam Vice Chancellor, was invaluable, and I applied it successfully in my own life. In fact, the magic worked. Thank you, Madam Vice Chancellor. The guilt of being away from home as a working mother was something I deeply felt. I had my parents, in-laws, sisters, and house help supporting the home from time to time. My husband, Dr. Charles Kofi Klutse, deserves immense recognition today. He has been my rock, my constant support, and my greatest champion. He has selflessly taken on the responsibility of caring for our children during my demanding schedule, becoming both mommy and daddy in my absence. His understanding and unwavering support have made this milestone possible. This achievement is dedicated entirely to him, Dr. Kofi Klutse. My audience want to see you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my story, and I hope it inspires others to dream beyond borders. Professor Chair, before I sit, permit me to conclude my lecture with a saying I often share with my students and friends. One saying that has shaped my journey and brought me this far. Hard work pays, but fortune favors the bold. Thank you all for being here, for listening to me. Thank you.
Our distinguished professor deserves another round of applause, a louder one, of course. Thank you very much, Prof. Browne Klutse, for delivering such an insightful lecture. And we thank you also for granting her the audience to unpack her topic. It's really been very insightful, and I believe we're going to take the conversation further in our research and academic work. Thank you very much. Madam Chair, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will now relax and take a performance by the Ghana Dance Ensemble. And this is what they have for us. What they are performing is Aze Yilo. Aze Yilo is a Dangbe phrase that means, is it witchcraft? This choreographed piece was culled from one of the works of the Ghana Dance Ensemble in 2022. The piece questions whether it is witchcraft that is causing us to destroy our vegetation and climate, or our own human actions. The piece further raises issues of politics, floods, galamsey, who you know, who knows you, etc. Thus, if Ghana must make a headway, we must all rally and confront the issues head-on. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Aze Yilo performance by the Ghana Dance Ensemble. Please let's welcome them.
What up, get on you? What up, get on you?
Kukuneti fida
Thank you very much. Let's acknowledge them once more. That was a perfect demonstration of what our distinguished professor just spoke about, and we are very grateful. That is the way in the University of Ghana. We have a good way of blending the arts and sciences. So we had a physicist talk to us, and our friends from the arts have come to demonstrate what she spoke about. Thank you very much, Ghana Dance Ensemble. Madam Chair, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's time for presentations. But before I move on with that, I would like to acknowledge some of our dignitaries here. We are very privileged to have all of you join us this evening, but please permit me to acknowledge some of our dignitaries. As our lecturer rightly mentioned, we have a Pro-Vice Chancellor, a former Pro-Vice Chancellor from the University of Cape Coast, Professor Dora Edubuando, here with us. Can you give us a wave, Prof? And we've also been joined by many chiefs. We have with us the Paramount Chief of Asin Kushia, Nana Pra Ajimandi State. Please, can you give us a wave? We also have the Paramount Chief of Abra State, Nana Otu the 11th. And we have chiefs from Nyamfeku Ekofo, the hometown of our distinguished professor. Please, can you give us a wave? All the chiefs from her hometown. And we also have many chiefs joining us from the whole of Central Region. You have really done well by following your daughter to celebrate her this evening with us. We thank you very much. We'll continue seeing some more people as we move on to the presentations. So to start our presentations, we'll start with Prof. Nanama Browne Klutse's college. She belongs to the College of Basic and Applied Sciences. So I'll first invite the college to do their presentation. CBAS. And the school she belongs to is located in the college. That's the School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences. Please get ready. School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences, please get ready. School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences. While her mother department gets ready, Department of Physics. Department of Physics, please get ready. While the Department of Physics is coming, the Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies should get ready. Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, please get ready. Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies. After them, we'll have Women in Physics. Women in Physics. Women in Physics. While they are coming, EPA should please get ready. EPA, please get ready. We will now have EPA. And while EPA is coming, African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, AIMS Ghana, please get ready. AIMS Ghana, please get ready. We now invite the Browne Foundation. The Browne Foundation. So AIMS Ghana should please come for their presentation. Browne Foundation, please get ready. The Browne Foundation, please. The Browne Foundation. Okay, can we have the UGBS Innovation Hub while we wait for the Browne Foundation? UGBS Innovation Hub. Friends of Prof. Klutse should get ready. Friends of Prof. Klutse, please get ready. Infantsman Old Girls Association should get ready, please. Infantsman Old Girls Association. Infantsman Old Girls Association. Please come up. Infantsman Old Girls Association. And the last but not least on my list, we have the family of Prof. Browne Klutse. We thank you all very much for showing much love to our distinguished professor. God bless you all. I think we still have members of the family presenting to Prof. Klutse. Thank you very much. So that's the extended family of Prof. Browne Klutse that did the last presentation. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will take closing remarks from our Chair and Vice Chancellor, Professor Nanaba Appiah-Amfo. Please let's welcome our chairperson to the podium.
Thank you, Director, Public Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening we've had Professor Browne Klutse deliver a perceptive lecture on physics, policy, and politics of climate change, the foundation of human survival. I think she did a great job, and so let's give her another round of applause. She's demonstrated to us how the 3 Ps of physics, policy, and politics connect with climate change and relate to our very survival. I must say that for me, it was physics made simple and relatable. In fact, I'm thinking about going to pick up from my physics lessons from where I left off. She demonstrated to us in very simple terms how atmospheric disturbances affects our weather patterns, its effects on food supply, migration, livelihoods, and how global warming and climate change connect in various ways to affect our lives. I like the fact that she emphasized interdisciplinary studies as a means of solving the challenges of global change. How the sciences, the basic sciences, the applied sciences, the social sciences, and the arts can interconnect to solve the problems of our continent, our world, and our country. She further related to us how the role of policy in all of these and how the science connects to the policy, demonstrating to us from her own work, particularly with the IPCC, how it has informed the Kyoto Protocol, the Adaptation Fund, and thanks Professor Klutse for helping me to learn one more acronym, that the NDC can also be the nationally determined conditions. Prof further emphasized the role that politics play in all of this, and the need for the strong political will if you're going to effectively handle the challenges that climate change presents to us. For her, politics, it's about understanding human beings. I never thought about politics that way. And so she's given me a different perspective to politics. You know, what excites me this evening is that often we have these 3 Ps compartmentalized. The P of physics and the related science, of policy and of politics. We often have these compartmentalized without speaking effectively to each other. But now we have been blessed to have an individual who exudes all 3 Ps. An accomplished physicist, someone who has been part of policy formulation, and an astute politician. For those of us who have followed her during her few weeks at the Environmental Protection Authority, it is very clear that she understands the scope of the task, has the depth of knowledge, as well as the strategy to deliver effectively. Prof, I look forward to UG's continued and deepened collaboration with your new organization. This is a fine opportunity for us to see our 4th strategic priority, which is engagement and partnerships in operation, and also to deliver on impactful research, which is our 2nd strategic priority. We are well aware of the university's expertise and commitment in this regard, which has recently been cemented by the MasterCard grant for the UG Collaborative on Climate Resilience and Sustainability, which you are part of that team. I'm not sure that the project director, Professor Awandari, has sacked you yet. You are still a part of that team. So let us continue to work together to save our planet. I'm reminded of Greta Thunberg, a young Swedish environmental activist who once said that climate change is not only a threat, it is above all an opportunity to create a healthier, greener, and cleaner planet which will benefit all of us. We must seize the opportunity. Prof. Browne Klutse has this evening ignited the interest of all of us. You know, at some point she made us all feel guilty by indicating that we have all contributed one way or the other to climate change, and so we all ought to be a part of the solution. Thank you very much for inspiring us, and especially the young female scientists, policymakers, and politicians. You have had a remarkable journey so far, and I can see that your best years are ahead of you. Continue to be an inspiration, continue to be the climate champion that you have been. And thank you this evening for bringing so many distinguished guests to us. I hope that you have enjoyed yourselves and that when we next call on you, you would come again to support us. Have a very good evening, you all, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chancellor and Chair. We are very grateful for the nuggets of wisdom you have just shared in your closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to add my voice to the Vice Chancellors to express appreciation to you all those here with us, as well as those joining us online. We are very, very grateful that you heeded our call and joined us to celebrate our distinguished professor. Thank you very much. As the Vice Chancellor reiterated, we believe that you heed our call and respond to our invitation when we invite you to our upcoming events. As you can see from the back cover of our brochure, we have a number of upcoming events. But let me take the opportunity to announce our next inaugural lecture. Our next inaugural lecture comes off on 10th April 2025, and it will be delivered by the Director of Institutional Advancement, Professor Kwesi Dateba, on the topic, Dancing in the Boardroom, Leading with Groove, Balancing Tradition and Transformation in Ghana's Leadership Landscape. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you wouldn't want to miss this one. And so on the 10th of April, we invite you all here, same time, to join us to celebrate our Director of Institutional Advancement Directorate. Today, with the inaugural lecture delivered by Professor Klutse, by custom, we do not ask questions because we see her as an authority in her area. And so when somebody delivers an inaugural lecture, we don't ask questions, we don't question the person. But we want to be very kind with you. So Prof. Klutse will grant an interview on Radio Universe, our campus radio, Radio Universe 105.7 FM. We have a research and innovation agenda program on this network where she'll be granting an interview on coming Wednesday. So next Wednesday, 2nd April, from 9 to 10 a.m., we will have our distinguished professor engage with our team at Radio Universe. We invite you all to tune in, and if you have questions, that is when to ask your question. So tune in with your questions, and our professor will give answers to your questions. For our order of refreshments, we invite all our special guests, our guests, together with members of convocation and the platform party, to the north wing, my left side, for refreshments. Our students and staff will take refreshments at the AA Kwapong Quadrangle, which is the forecourt of the Great Hall. This brings us to the end of today's very beautiful ceremony. And at this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I invite you all to kindly rise for the university anthem to close us. We'll find the lyrics on page 12 of the brochure. Please let's remain standing as the platform party recesses.